What's going on, everybody? I want to welcome you back. My name is Shia to Knicks Deli, baby.
Knicks Deli Edition.
Knicks Deli Edition. This isn't a whole Knicks Deli Edition, but this is a deli run. So you're just here to pick up something quick. But I have a couple of things to just get off of my chest. What I want to talk about today, I didn't have an opportunity to chime in on the acquisition of Mikal Bridges. Let's go. Knicks fans, I am hyped. I'm hyped. Leon Rose is doing his thing. The New York Knicks and the orange and blue are doing their thing again. Once again, going in the opposite direction of the superstar hunt. Going against all of the pontificators and what they think and think that Leon Rose can't do. Oh, you know what? The Nets will never trade with the New York Knicks. The Nets will never trade with the New York Knicks. You know, that's a pipe dream. That's what they said. And they were all wrong. They were all wrong. So the New York Knicks now are putting together the final Infinity Stone. Look at the stones. That's what they're doing. Putting together the final Infinity Stone. Am I messing up my sounds? That's what they're doing. So that's what we're going to look at today here on the Deli Run. The New York Knicks have traded for Mikal Bridges from the Brooklyn Nets. Unheard of. Nobody ever thought it would happen. But I'm going to tell you that Sean Marks is a smart man. Sean Marks, the general manager of the Brooklyn Nets, is a smart man. And what I love at the different press conferences, because you know you can't just watch the Knicks press conference, you got to watch Sean Marks' press conference. That man said that Mikal had no idea this was happening. He didn't know until he called him and told him. So that story that Mikal Bridges shared at the press conference when he was at Desmond Bane's house and he got the news, Desmond Bane got the news before he did. You gotta love that. Out of nowhere. That's the type of front office that Leon Rose runs. That's the type of front office, apparently, that Sean Marks runs. Nobody knew. It's a sign of good management by the Nets. See, and that's what I was talking about for the longest time. It's not about who likes who. It's about whether or not you're serious about your team doing good business. Good business. That's what it's about. And apparently that's what Sean Marks was about. And the baseline for what it was that moved him to make this move, he said, I had an opportunity not only to take advantage and get some draft capital, but that in turn allowed me to flip and get our own draft capital back from Houston. Once again, is it about the narrative or is it about good business? And in this case, Sean Marks showed it was about good business. It was about doing what was in the best health of the Knicks organization. It just so happens that the New York Knicks would stand to benefit for their organization. So it was a win-win. And something that I love was they were interviewing Sean Marks. Yeah, I watched their whole press conference. I watched that whole thing. They were interviewing Sean Marks, right? And the media was just like, hey, you know, we didn't think, following that narrative, we didn't think, you know, that this type of deal would ever be pulled off. You know, did you have a hard time getting Leon Rose on the phone? Sean Marks knew the moment. He looked at them, he said, listen, I have access to him. I never have a hard time getting him on the phone. Now, whether or not y'all have a hard time getting him to talk, that's another story. And that was a lighthearted moment. I think some people caught, other people didn't. And I love that because he hears and he knows the narrative about the difficulty in getting Leon Rose to talk to the media. I love that. I love that sense of humor was there. And something else that's not being spoken about, and I said it in the middle of the season, when we were thinking about the possibility of getting a Mikal Bridges on our team, and everybody and their mama who has a channel was saying, you know what, we would love that, but it would never happen. One of the biggest things I said was when they were interviewing James Dolan and they asked him about the owner for the Brooklyn Nets. He was just like, no, he's a good guy. He's a good guy. Businessmen, same city. But that dynamic was different. They said we're actually friends. We're cordial. And I picked up on that because that's not how it was when the former Nets owner was putting up the blueprint to success in the middle of, right across the street from Madison Square Garden. That's not the relationship that was had. That regime, you could take it to the bank. This type of deal wasn't getting done. But with this regime, when I saw James Dolan speak kindly of the owner of the Brooklyn Nets, I was just like, yo, that's a phone call that was probably initiated. James Dolan could pick up the phone with their owner and say, listen, man, draft capital, you have an opportunity to flip and do whatever. And then that's when they get their GMs on the phone to consecrate this deal. So kudos to both organizations. Kudos to the Brooklyn Nets and kudos to the orange and blue, the New York Knicks. But speaking of the press conference, Mikal Bridges was happy as hell, right? That man was that man was happy as hell. Somebody made a joke and was just like, the man didn't even iron his shirt. He purchased the shirt. He took the pins out. It still had the squares in it, the square wrinkles, and he went right to the press conference. You know what I mean? That was classic. But you could tell that man was genuinely happy. And ladies and gentlemen, this is where we are right now as an organization. You know what's rare in this world? Where people are actually genuinely happy. That's rare, isn't it? When you see somebody, and especially with the work that they do, when people are generally happy, it's a rare sight to see. When it's tough to contain. And sometimes when you do, that triggers the evil spirits in other people. They don't want to see you happy. They don't want to see you shine. That's why this move was so remarkable. Because the Brooklyn Nets did what was best for the organization. Isn't that surprising? I think I heard somebody point that out. Was just like, I'm surprised that they actually had a press conference. That hasn't been the New York Knicks way over the past few years. And I sit back and I laugh because I knew the reason why they stopped. You know the reason why they haven't had press conferences when the New York Knicks would acquire certain players? It is to save New York from themselves. It is to save New York from themselves. The media will just as quickly chew you up and spit you out. When you get a new person coming into a market like New York, when those lights are the brightest, when the pressure is the most high. If it's somebody who wasn't born or raised in that type of atmosphere, if it wasn't somebody that's forged in a fire, who can deal with that type of pressure, who can deal with that type of spotlight. If you coming from Kansas somewhere, no disrespect, Kansas, listen, y'all got tornadoes. You forged from something. But you know what? You have to show a track record of having gone through something for people to show confidence in you and allowing you to walk through that storm, knowing you can handle that. So the past few years, as the New York Knicks have rebuilt this organization, they had to protect their young stars. They had to protect the top ends. They had to protect the IQs. They had to protect Jalen until they were able to see if Jalen could handle the spotlight or the scrutiny or the criticism of the media, whether they were telling lies or truths. And they knew that he was the most talented, next to Randall, if not more than Randall. Most talented player that they would see bringing on a team. They knew the plans that they had for him. But when they brought him in, they said, nah, we ain't going to give the media an opportunity to put this man's fire out before he even stokes it. We ain't going to give them that opportunity. What we're going to do is we're going to capsulize it. We're going to have one or two people ask the questions, and then we're going to move it along. And ESPN was on fire. FS1 was on fire. Oh man, Stephen A. Smith. Oh, it's blasphemous. Me and Leon Rose. Look, that's exactly what the reason why they left the major national media out of it. That's the reason why. So the difference now that we see is that the New York Knicks have a team that was tested in the fire. They have a team of winners now. They have a team of dogs now. So now they can allow the media in. And I'll tell you this much, they're going to start letting more and more in. Because they have the players who they know have the mental, the physical, the spiritual, the emotional stamina to deal with that. Not everybody has that. Not everybody has that when people are trying to criticize you or lie on you in the middle of national spot. Not everybody's built like that. So that's why the New York Knicks caught everybody off guard by allowing the media, boom, have access to this young man. And in addition to that, the man was he's on a team with his tribe. He ain't alone. They're not worried about if he gets criticism, how it's going to impact the locker room. That's why it's so strategic. That's why it's so excellent what the New York Knicks are doing. They are building a bulletproof locker room that so happens to be talented. So that when you go through the highest of highs and you come through the most difficult points, and any other team, they would have them turning on their coach. This is a bulletproof locker room. That's not happening. So kudos to Leon Rose and the New York Knicks once again for nursing that reputation and getting a team together that has thick skin, who are dogs, who are professionals, who can take criticism. But they protected those young players just enough. And then once they were no longer part of the New York Knicks and we brought in some veterans who were tested, now they're like, all right, New York media, we could let you back a little bit closer. This is a first step. We could let you back in a little bit closer. And it was great to see. I was super proud of it, but I noticed it right away. The moment it happened, I said, yeah, the boys is ready now. And that's what Leon Rose in the front office and that's what the New York Knicks has said. Yeah, these boys are ready now. Now we know these are Tibbs's boys. These are New York, forged in a fire. Yeah, them boys are ready now. Now media, now you could come back in. But in addition to that, man, I haven't been really staying up on on this trade or even Mikal Bridges. I knew the idea was good. I'm like, yeah, man. When he first got to the Brooklyn, the boy was putting together some offensive games. I'm like, yo, dog, he's talented. But I didn't really pay attention to him because I was hating on him. You know what I mean? I don't want to know about what's going on in Brooklyn. So I was hating on him. I ain't even going to lie to you. Okay? But so it hasn't necessarily sunk in for me yet. The impact of this trade hasn't necessarily sunk in. And I'm starting to slowly realize this is huge. This is huge news. Mikal Bridges is a versatile player. Mikal Bridges provides the New York Knicks with a team of versatility. Mikal Bridges makes looking at the New York Knicks healthy next season a top 5 defense in this NBA. He provides for us another offensive weapon who has the capability to make shots, put pressure on the rim, and a finish. That's what he brings. So I'm looking forward to looking at more of his tape over the summertime and seeing exactly what type of player that the New York Knicks got in Mikal Bridges. And aside from his pettiness, because in the press conference, the man was like, yeah, New York Knicks could have had me. I thought I was going to be here earlier. I'm going to let you get that off your chest. You can tell he got some stuff to get off his chest. You could get it off your chest. You earned that right. He was just like, man, I could have been the first to be here before you brought in Jalen, before then Josh Hart. But you know what? Sometimes things don't work the way you want them to work. Things work the way they're supposed to work. The timing's got to be right. And if the timing ain't right, and if it ain't working at your own pace, then you deal with the cards you were dealt with. And that man dealt with the cards he was dealt. Yeah, in the back of his mind, that was still something that he had his eyes on and he thought was a possibility. But in the meantime, you deal with life that's in front of you. And kudos to that young man who did it. The man went from being stuck inside of that window looking at his Patrick and SpongeBob playing through the blinds. He got that call, man. Man, there was all holding hands outside of that blinds, running through the field, and I was here for it, man. So shout out to Mikal Bridges, man. Great work by both New York teams, the Brooklyn Nets and the New York Knicks, being an example for the rest of the league that anything is possible. Anything is possible. And also one last shout out to NBA players who are hopping on Twitter talking about Jalen Brunson and Josh Hart with tampering. Yo, I love that. I love that, man. I love that. Mikal Bridges look happy as hell. So that's it for the Knicks Deli Run, baby. It's your boy Sheer. Do me a favor, hit that like button, subscribe, share the video to any friends who are Knick fans. You know, we back at it. We being a little bit more steady with it. Once again, working some outside distractions or trying to take the energy. But I'm going to do my best to kind of make sure you get this content, this fire content. All right? Keep this in mind. Same thing applies to life that applies to our team. If there is no struggle, there's no progress. But remember this, whether it's out in the real world or here in these YouTube streets, here in Knick's Deli, everybody eats. I'm your host, Shia, and I'm out.